front of these drivers and plenty of opportunities.
But yes, a bit of point of contention, but it doesn't matter now, Ron. We're going green.
Drivers are on their way. And it's a rather convincing start from Joyner. He's going to be leading them complicated. Heading through this bend, it tightens up though before they head off into turn number 8. This is going to be very close.
What is that?
Based off the fact you sound like you sat on a cold toilet seat there, Adam, but that was insane. And Kramer was mega sideways coming out of turn number 8.
That one got me. That one got me.
Look at this conga line. Dun 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 dun. Who was it that came from the? Oh, that was Tolo coming in. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome to Season 2 of 2025 for the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 1 of the season, coming to you today from Cadwell Park. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell, and in the virtual production hall, or serving as our producer, we have Guido Marzucchi. We're ready to get the 9th season of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors up and running, and to do it, we're heading to Cadwell Park. Despite being added into the service just a handful of seasons ago, it has become a staple of the Weekend Warriors. It's old school, but it's still a heck of a lot of fun. Charles, before we go any further, I want to welcome you back to these Weekend Warriors broadcasts and welcome you to this very unique racetrack.
Well, Ron, thank you very much. I am so proud to be back with the Weekend Warriors doing the broadcasting. Obviously did it for a different company for a few years. Absolutely enjoy these. Obviously still doing Esports on every Wednesday night, and this is it's a pleasure. I love these races. Big grids, lots of action on the track, really good racing. And Cadwell Park, however, is a bit new to me. I bought it about an hour, about the same time practice started today. So I got in here early because I knew I had to see the cars on the track. And yeah, old school. You're absolutely right. I think it suits these cars really well, especially the Formula Fords. I think there's enough racing room in most parts of the track. Some of the parts of the track here, not much wider than city sidewalk. So obviously lots of elevation changes, lots of tight corners. These guys will be pushing it to the limit today, and really looking forward to calling the action.
And this is going to be a really enjoyable race to get this season kicked off. We have an awesome schedule to look forward to here for the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors, of course, getting things up and rolling here today at Cadwell Park. Going to be running at Magny Court in 1 week's time. Brands Hatch will follow, followed by the Red Bull Ring, Knock Hill, Zandvoort, Laguna Seca, Snetterton. On the bigger version, the 300 layout to be a bit more precise. Silverstone on the national course, that'll follow for the 8th round of this championship. And that, actually, no, that'll be the 9th. You can tell I was great with math as a kid. Then we head to Alton Park, Thruxton, and Donington Park to bring this 12-race season to a close. Got a lot of awesome tracks to look forward to, and this is going to be a real fun one to get this season up and rolling. We had a lot of UK tracks that we went to last season. Still have a couple that we're going to be visiting all season long, but a really stacked schedule to look forward to here this season, Charles.
Yeah, absolutely. They have a very British feel to the season. A couple standouts. I love Knock Hill. I think it's going to be a fantastic race. Just a fun little track. Spent a lot of time with my team doing Porsche Cup racing there. And it's just amazing for the P-Cups. I can imagine it's going to be fantastic for these for Formula Fords. Magny-Cours, kind of the outlier there, obviously. French track, I'm not really sure. We'll see how that's going to work out. Silverstone National, the short layout is going to be fun. Alton Park is a blast, and so, we always get some good action there as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a great season. I think it's going to be a real test of a driver's ability during the course of this year, or this season, I should say.
And we're getting a great view of this racetrack to kick off this season with Michael McConnell, the driver currently qualified in 5th, and the sponsor of today's broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. We would like to thank Mike McConnell for making this broadcast possible. He's behind the wheel of the number 62 Furball racing car, heading his way out of turn number 8 right about now. Got a little bit of traffic a little bit farther up the road, but showing us this old school racetrack. You mentioned a couple of moments ago, Charles, that this track feels like a city sidewalk. It's so narrow at certain points in time in this woodland section. Certainly good proof of that. The current version of this track was open all the way back in 1961. The actual facility was opened back in 1938, 2.176 miles long, about 3.5 kilometers to be a bit more precise, 18 turns in all in Lincolnshire. Actually, the lap record was set by a go-kart. It was Sam Moss behind the wheel of a Division 1 supercar, set a 1 minute 21.036. So really shows you how small of a racetrack it is, and those carts are super quick as well, based off the fact in these Formula Fords, which they're not the fastest Formula cars in the world, but they're not wheelbarrows either. These drivers are only setting 127s. Currently, Jörg Monty, your provisional pole sitter at the present moment, off the back of an absolutely dominant season last time out here for season 1 of 2025. Won 11 out of the 12 races, walked away with the Masters Championship really with about a month to spare. He's looking to keep that same momentum rolling heading into this brand new season, holding on to the provisional pole with a tick over a minute left to go.
Yeah, I've always, because I am in that level of my life, I always got to watch the Masters class specifically. And Jorg, Antonio Reese, good God, how good are they? How talented the drivers they are, even at the I guess the advanced level of wisdom these guys have. We'll give it a nice term, but just fantastic racers, and it's no surprise to see Jorg up at the top of the board. He's quick every time he gets out on the track, so it's fun to see him out there battling with the best of the group.
And we've just got a massive field of race cars and a stacked field of racers as well. Looking through the Spec 1 category, which is looking a little bit different this season. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention there has been some changes in terms of the classification of how all these drivers kind of fit into their respective classes. But you're still going to see the same old Spec 1, Spec 2, and Spec 3, and not Spec 3, Masters drivers. I made a joke before the broadcast. I will fess up to this. I made made a joke about our very own SMB colleague, Mr. Joshua Wilkie, maybe needing to go into Spec 3. If anyone would like to have my job here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, why not write to us at I'm sorry that Ron got killed, but can I have his job now at slowmotionbroadcasting.com. But still got the same classes that we usually do. Still got some fantastic drivers and actually have some newcomers to this Formula Ford series. One of the drivers who's always been very fast on Sundays, just over on the Spec Racer Ford side of things, is Felix Samoas behind the wheel of the number 31 car. Finds himself in third at the moment in this qualifying session with the checkered flag out. He is your reigning Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors champion and certainly going to be proving himself to be a very fast driver. Did not get along with this track too terribly well during the Formula V race yesterday here on SMB, but Samoa is clearly flexing his muscles in these FFs.
Yeah, Felix is just a fast driver. There's just that's all you really need to say about him. I mean, he's always up there, contending for the championship when he's on the track. So it's no surprise to see him up there in the top 3, and he'll be pushing for the lead at some point in time during the race. I will say this: I noticed this as we're jumping on board here with the 222 car, Fernando Afonso. I did notice this is one of the shortest pit lanes I've ever seen. It's like a, if you have to get a drive through, it's like a 12-second drive through or something like that. It's insanely short. And to just add another little wrinkle into this race today, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because I do know we've got a pit stop involved in today's event, so we'll see how that translates during the race.
Yeah, really looking forward to seeing the strategy content in this 40-minute long race that we have coming up. It always proves to be a huge factor, regardless of what kind of racetrack we're running at. And I have a feeling that here at Cadwell for this opening race of the season, I'm pretty much lock steady that it is going to be the same case. We're riding on board with Jason Green, heading his way through the 11 and 12 chicane. This is one of the toughest sections of racetrack in my entire time doing iRacing stuff. That's super tricky, and especially in these FFs are a bit more skittish than the Formula Vs that we saw yesterday. It may be a bit less skittish this season, as Trent Kramer raised in the YouTube chat. They do have some reworked physics that we certainly will be talking about throughout all of the broadcasts here for Season 2 of 2025. But to get this season underway, let's take a look at the first starting grid of this brand new season. And it's going to be Jorg Mani, the Masters driver in the 925 car, starting this race from the overall pole position. Obviously going to be the top qualifying Masters driver. As a result, he is going to be joined on the front row by the Canadian of Edward Buchanan in the number 5 car. Only 11 thousandths between those two front row sitters. This is going to be a close race. Felix Samoas will start right behind in third. Daniel Tufts will start alongside him. Only 5 thousandths of a second between those two drivers. This field is vacuum sealed together. Ethan Orr, jumping up from Spec 2 into Spec 1 this season in the number 33 car, will start this race in 5th. Next to Michael McConnell, a sponsor of today's broadcast here on SMB, in 6th. We have Soren Garrett starting in P7, Jason Green starting in P8. Sean Doyle, the Aussie, in the number 8 car, will start in 9th, with Trent Kramer rounding at your top 10.
Yeah, starting in P11 is Antonio Reese, second in the Masters class. Dan Witzak, I believe, is our first S2 driver, starting in 12th. Juan Garcia starts in 13th. Andrew Love in 14th. Adam Thompson, 15th. Kevin Adrian, 16th. Fernando Afonso in 17th. Jeff Woodker in 18th. Andrew Hurd starts 19th. And Boris Espin starts in P20.
And looking through the drivers we have starting outside of the top 20, it starts with Daniel Verone in 21st. Jim Brewster, the admin of the Formula Vs, will start alongside in 22nd. We have Paul Jackson in 23rd, Daniel Salmon in 24th. And rounding out your field, we still have a lot of drivers left to go through. It's going to continue on with Brad Cathcart in the 905 car, Dustin Meaden in the 789. Series admin himself, Stevie Wright, will start in 27th, next to Glenn Wolowski in P28. Sammy Hendricks, who I believe is making his Weekend Warriors debut. I've seen that name before in some broadcasts I've done, but I haven't seen him in the Weekend Warriors, I believe. We'll start this race in 29th, the last driver to set a qualifying time. We have Joshua Wilkie, SMB's very own, starting this race in 30th. Russell Telker in 31st. Nick Tullo will start in P at 23. Riding out your grid, we'll note that Nick Tullo and Boris Espin did not take to the formation lap, so they will be your last drivers to take the green if they do join this race, join the track for this race race we have coming up. Boris Esman not actually in the session right now, so I believe we will have only 31 drivers set to grab the green in a couple of moments' time, Charles, but still a rather stacked grid with some familiar names and some very fast drivers sprinkled all throughout.
Yeah, absolutely. As you know, I haven't been here for a while, but there's a lot of names that stand out that I know very well and have covered for quite a while. So it's good to be back, and let's get some good racing today. Obviously, this first lap is going to be very critical to having a good race. You're going to have to get single file, get clean. You know, if you're out of position, you have to be patient and work. But it's a very, very tight track. So passing is going to be at a premium today. So good luck to everybody out there. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, there's going to be a heck of a lot of fun to get this season underway. Boris Esman has rejoined the session, so I think we will have a full 32-car grid. But, of course, because he missed the formation lap, he will start a little bit farther down the running order. And this is going to be a very good season. And I think one driver that we have to keep tabs on all throughout it is going to be Mani in the 925 car. Won 11 out of 12 races in the Masters category last season, including grabbing some overall wins in the process as well. Finds himself starting this season opening race from the overall pole position. And Monty, Charles, he can attest to it. He's a quick driver, so I think Yurik is going to be super quick.
He is indeed. Yeah, he's very, very quick in these cars, and the spec racers as well. He's and he loves coming out here and racing on the weekends with these guys. So he's gonna put on a good show for us today. Once again, we just got to be clean at the start, and we'll have us a good race.
Yeah, it is going to be a good one to get this season underway at Cadwell Park, a historic traditional UK track. Got a lot of elevation change, which you don't really see at many UK racetracks. There's really two.
No.
There's ones like this that are built into hillsides, and then there's the other ones who are built on old RAF bases. You've basically got two types of UK tracks. Both of them are wonderful, and we're going to be visiting both kinds of those racetracks all throughout this season, but I gotta say Cadwell, it's a track that I have a lot of experience driving on both iRacing and project cars too. It's one that I absolutely adore, and I think we're going to have a brilliant race to kick this season off. We got some drivers looking to impress, some veterans looking to see some opportunities, and it's going to be a brilliant ride from here all the way to the beginning of the summer. Delighted that all of you could join us here on SMB to get this season underway. The green flag is out, and the drivers are on their way. Mani getting off to a flyer, trying to hold on to that lead as best as he possibly can and extend it, heading down into turn number one. These flat. Oh my God, contact already. Heading through turn number one, multiple cars going off. We nearly had a flipper into the runoff area. Not entirely sure who that was. I think it may have been Trent Kramer and Antonio Race involved in that drama, heading off through turn number one. Those flat out fast corners. Try saying that 5 times fast. Caught me out there. It caught out those drivers as they went off the track in dramatic fashion. Now heading down into turn number 4. Monty still in the race lead. Felix Samoa slipped up to second. Ethan Orr in third. We've had a lot of drama all throughout the early stages of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like Adam Thompson's also towed to the pit, so he was involved, I think, in that initial incident. As we're back on board at the front of the field, Mani, Samoa's had a good jump, got into P2, so he's going to be, and Buchanan did not get the greatest of starts. He dropped down to 4th, so he'll have a little bit of work to do, but, now that you're out front, looks like everybody's single file. So now it's going to be how fast can you make your car go around this track?
I will note, talking about the start for Edward Buchanan, as was raised by Ryan Szynski in the YouTube chat, it was not a very pretty formation lap. They were rather shuffled up, and that's part of the reason why Mani was able to stretch out to the lead that he did in the early stages. But Felix Samoas is still keeping him honest. Let's see, heading down the start-finish straightaway in its totality, under green for the first time. Mani leads the first lap. Let's see if he's going to lead the second, though, is a real question I've got in my head. He finds himself P1 of the Masters Racers, P1 overall. Jim Brewster is second of the Masters Racers, all the way down in P13. Dan Witzak has gotten off to a pretty all-right start in the number 413 car, finds himself in 10th at the moment. But here we go. Samoa is trying to get that move done down the inside into turn number 4. God damn it. Samoa is going to get that job done to slip his way up into the race lead as Mr. Adam Thompson, after a rough start in this race, comes into the booth of meows.
I think that's the only reason that he came in. I think that's the only reason that he wrecked, just so he could come in here and meow at us. As we're on the board with the replay here, we see Kramer. Looks like it was on the outside. Oh! he just clip a curb there on the inside and just shot the car across the track. It might have been Reese as we're back on board. Thanks to Father Guido there for the replays. So we're on board here now with Antonio, and just high-sided it. He had to check up for a car in front and caught the inside curb, got the car out of shape, and overcorrected, sent the car across the track and into Kramer, unfortunately.
An easy mistake to make, especially in these low-slung Formula cars. These curbs and the curb wax will usually go down about as well as a lead balloon. Oh, big contact being made. Adam nearly getting sent off into low Earth orbit. I'm not sure who that was that spun in front of him. May have potentially been Soren Garrett's, potentially. That was Juan Garcia, my apologies. Let's take a look at Garcia's perspective in the number 32 car. This is down into turn number 4, and oh, what in the world? That's a rather bizarre looking collision. I think he had to have had a tap there. That was very unnatural for Garcia to just loop it around like that. Looked like the motor seized on it, if I'm being completely honest. Just looped it around. And we'll also note a driver who just got struck by a falling anvil was you're at 1 point P2 runner in the Masters category, Jim Brewster, dropping down to 27th.
Yeah, Jim has dropped down the order as well. And so that puts, as we're on board here with Herds coming around. Can't really tell. I think my replay's glitched there just a bit. As we're back live now. So, there we go. So, back on board with Samoas, who is in the lead. Monty in second, Ethan Orr in third, as we're working our way down around into the forest area. This is a really pretty track. I'm not going to lie. It's, this would be one of those that you could spend a day just kind of hanging out and enjoying the sights and sounds in a really nice area.
Yeah, and also a lot of shade around this racetrack as well.
Sure.
Plenty of trees, plenty of shade, which is good news for me. That was a moment involving Jim Brewster and Andrew Love heading off through turn number 17. That's not going to be an ideal moment for either of those racers. Andrew missed out on the Formula V season opener one day ago. He was actually at Summit Point in real life, and that was an unfortunate moment for those two hang down into turn 17. Such a tough corner to try and get right, picking your way through the trees and all the barriers around there as well. I remember one time driving around this racetrack. I forgot what car I was in. May have been the Indy car, if my memory serves me correctly. I ended up Austin Powersing myself between some of the tire barriers, so you can clearly tell I have the skills that prove that I should be behind a microphone instead of behind the wheel. And just to finish off the other bit that I was getting at there in reference to the trees around this track, mainly in the woodland section, the aptly named woodland section, that'd be a good thing for me if I ever went to this track in real life, because if there's no shade around a racetrack that I'm at, I have to use SPF 250 sunscreen that actually reflects the sunbeams and the UV light back at the sun. And I'm not sure what the physics are of that, but hey, if it works, it works. I haven't gotten sunscreen with that stuff yet. It's basically just a sheet that I put over my body. Taking a look at some racing a little bit farther in the back, involving Dustin Meehan and Stevie Ray. They find themselves in a small little pack with Ray Meaden and Sammy Hendricks in the number 35 car, all nose to tail.
Whoa. Got a car off. That's the 905 car of Brad Cathcart. Looks like he collected himself into the barrier there. We might have to get a replay or see if we can figure out how that occurred. But he has fallen back down to the 26th as we just like a little spin. There was some traffic in front, so maybe. Oh, that actually looks more like. That actually looks more like it might have been some kind of hardware failure or just. Just like he just went straight. Obviously, I think there's a way that you can actually stop the car there, even if you're offline, and he was a bit. But that just looks like maybe a hardware failure or maybe a bit of frustration, one or the other. So we'll go back to the live racing here with, as we see another replay here, Juan Garcia.
This is heading all through the slalom section in the Woodlands part, hits the curb on the inside turn 13 and loses it, taking a one-way trip into the barrier. He already had that incident with Thompson earlier on, and I think that will just about take him out of contention in this race. He finds himself in P27, still in pit lane. Brad Cathcart in the pits as well. That had to have been some sort of hardware failure because he was running wide and setting himself up to take that shortcut run through turn 17. Something must have gone on with his sim rig. That's unfortunate. I mean, it's a world of sim racing. Stuff like that can happen, but it's still unfortunate nevertheless when something like that does befall you. We'll say, though, I think Brad Cathcart just rejoined this race. He's down in 27th, hopelessly out of contention, so he's not going to be fighting for too many positions to be gained. But, hey, giving it the old college try, rejoining the race.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we like to see, and that's what these guys do. They come here to race, and if there's any way they can get out on the track, they will. So it's nice to see Brad back out there. We're on board here with Trenton Kramer. Involved in that a little bit there earlier with I think Antonio Reese on that lap 1 incident. He's also back on the track running in 22nd, and Trenton is pretty quick as we get on board from behind from Russ Telker. So Trenton has the potential to make up a few positions. Obviously, just kind of make his day a little better as far as points are concerned. Which is what we're all here for, right? We're all points racing, but it'd be nice to win. But for the most part, you want to get maximum points for your efforts today.
I think Ethan Orr just had some sort of moment. He's dropping down the running order. Ethan Orr may be completely avid. He just had to tow. Let's see what happened. This was a big moment heading down into the turn number 11 and 12 chicane in that 33 car. Loses it in the first part and then takes a one-way trip bang into the outside tire barrier. That section is so tough to try and get right with the elevation change. It's so inviting to try and get a bit more speed out of your race car, and Ethan Orr sadly overcooked it through 11, hit the curb through 12, and takes a one-way trip into the barrier right before turn 13.
Yeah, I think just looking at, you remember the week 13 V runoffs last week? I think these cars top out at about 140 miles per hour. Obviously, they're not doing anywhere close to that on this track, but the amount of precision needed to drive this track at the fastest speed possible is pretty incredible. These guys are working their tails off to keep these cars on the track. And you can see what happens when it doesn't work. When you get offline and you get on those curbs, you're struggling just to try and keep the car out of the barrier.
That is a big and costly mistake for Ethan Orr. He was rather impressive throughout pretty much the entirety of Season 1 of 2025, and looking to impress this season. However, it will not be the result that he probably had in mind for the first race of the season. So got a lot of racing left to go, though. I have a feeling for Season 2 of 2025, at least here for the FFs, it's going to be a season of parity. I think is the best way that I could describe it. I mean, just based off the qualifying results, you can kind of get that feeling right away. Kicking it off with a non-Spec 1 driver grabbing the overall pole position. That really speaks volumes that not only the competitiveness of Jorg Monty still finds himself in P2 within striking distance of your race leader, who is now Felix de Moes after that moment, right as we were getting the meow attack from Mr. Thompson, as we see Soren Gerrits in the 21 car making that early call to pits.
Yeah, that's a very early stop, but I think that means normally it would be Stevie Ray with the first pit in to say the pit cycle has officially started. But Gerrits is in first today, and obviously I think at this point, with 10 minutes into the race, I think that means that they can go to the end from here. Just based on my recollection of how they fuel these cars for the race. Normally it's at 10 to 12 minute mark is when all the cars start, the early pitters start coming in. So we'll see if anybody else is going to take early, try that undercut, get some clean track, and see if they can make up some positions that way.
As we continue to follow this racing action, looking at a battle that may be heating up in the Spec 2 category. Dan Witzak is still your leader in that class, and then you have to go a little bit farther back to find this battle of 4 Spec 2 racers covered by nothing. The pack is led by Salmon, who's in front of Daniel Verone, Andrew Love, and Jeff Wubker. Round out that pack, and also Kevin Adrian is actually no, it's 3 cars. We got some lapped cars in the midst of all of that as well. Still, those cars lined to stern in terms of their their position, but not line of stern in terms of where they are out on the racetrack. The Spec 2 category was rather dramatic to follow all throughout last season. Had 7 drivers grab Spec 2 wins all throughout season 1 of 2025, and no driver scored more than 3 wins. Jeff Jacobson and Chris Montgomery were the other ones who were able to do that, and really speaks volumes about how hectic that class was. The fact that Paul Jackson, who I don't believe even grabbed a single win throughout last season, was able to walk away with the Spec 2 championship at the end of it all. So that Spec 2 class, as our SMB buddy Mr. Joshua Wilkie always likes to say in the context of the Formula Vs, that Spec 2 category is always so exciting to follow. It's a matter of consistency, and it's also a matter of drivers having up and down seasons all throughout. No one has really pieced together a perfect Spec 2 season, with maybe the exception of Julian Ditchburn about a year ago when he sealed the deal in the Spec 2 championship like 3 races before the end of the season. That's always exciting to follow because you never know what's going to happen there.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is what we we're talking about points racing. That's to have a guy that didn't win a race win the championship. That just goes to show that consistency pays off. You can't really have a bad outing unless you've got a drop round, in which case you can have a bad outing and that's it. So so you don't necessarily have to win a race, but you have to be up there contending every week. But then you've got people like Jorg Monty, who's just like, unless something happens, unless he's abducted by aliens or gets hit with the falling anvil, which happens to Jorg occasionally, he's always going to be challenging for championships.
Yeah, those falling anvils. I keep trying to cancel that subscription, but they keep sending them. It's like getting newsletters from LinkedIn or something like that in your email. It's always absolutely terrible. Believe me, been there, done that. I'm pretty sure 98% of my Gmail storage right now is emails from LinkedIn, and I will leave it at that. Felix Samoa is actually growing that lead between himself and Jorg Monty. Now 1.2, teetering around that 1.2, 1.3 second barrier. Monty, I mean, he's still quick, but I think he's rapidly falling back into the crutches of the likes of Edward Buchanan and Daniel Tufts right behind. Buchanan, in his sporadic appearances during last season, was pretty quick in that Spec 1 category. I have a feeling we'll be talking about him a lot throughout here in Season 2 of 2025, but we may end up seeing a battle for the final overall podium spot in the not-too-far-off future.
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking like the battle's starting to heat up a bit. Jorg is losing a couple of tenths a lap to Felix up in the front. He did a good job to hold on, but we still got pit stops for the lead group available, so that may change things up as well. And Jorg will tell you it's great to win, but he wants to be out here racing. That's the whole point of him coming out here. Is it doesn't he'll tell you it doesn't matter if I win or not, as long as I've had a good day racing, I'm okay. Oh, as we see Verone around, just on that inside curb there, that little that's not good. And there's another damaged car. Could not get the number of that car as it went by. But you can see that chicane there is dealing damage out there on the track.
I think that may have potentially been Jeff Wubker in the 909 car. He's actually making his debut in the Masters category for this opening race of the season. Was in Spec 2 for Season 1, making that leap up to Masters here for Season 2. Multiple drivers deciding that now is the time to pit, including Andrew Herds and Daniel Verone. See Fernando Alfonso running a little bit farther behind them. Have had a couple drivers already make that call to pit, but we are rapidly approaching the halfway mark of this race, and with it, we are going to see those drivers make that call to pit. Trent Kramer, actually no, Soren Garrett is the highest running driver who has come into pit lanes. We're going to see a moment involving Russ Telker in the 290 in the 260 car. Second tries to charm, heading off through turn 2 into 3 right now. This blind corner, always an irritating part of this track for these drivers, and Telker sadly getting bit by that bullet.
Yeah, it just looked like he was trying to carry as much speed as he could. Just got a little wide on the entry of that corner. I think maybe panicked just a bit and tried to oversteer back to get back in line and just kind of loop the car around. No damage. Lost a position I saw as the car went through, but he's back running again, and he can continue on and see if he can make some of that time up.
And still a lot of time left to go in this race. You think, okay, yeah, we've had 16 coming up to 17 minutes already passes by. We still got about 23 minutes left of racing action, and based off how hectic the first 17 have been, you can imagine the final 23 are going to be rather intense to be sure. Felix Samoa's still in the race lead. York Monty finds himself in second, your current Masters leader. Dan Witzak is your current Spec 2 leader. But I will note that that battle involving Monty, Buchanan, and Tufts, that has now come to fruition. That it absolutely has, because what was it, a matter of like a couple of laps ago, it was like 1.2 seconds between them. Now you can scratch that all, it's now 3/10.
Yeah. York's last lap was a 28-1 versus Buchanan's 27-7 and Tufts 27 or 28 dead. So so he's losing a little bit of time, and that's tightened that up as we see Stevie Ray. Oh no, Stevie, our boss here, had a bit of a rough time there. Takes it in the wall and has towed back to the pits. And I think he says, "I'm done. I'm going to go get in the spec racer for the next race." So he got an early jump on practice. As on board here with Brad Cathcart. Oh, same thing, just out in the grass, and loops the car around and nose into that barrier and loses a nose cone. And Brad is also towed back to the pits as well.
And considering there's a fast repair limit of only one allotted to these drivers, and considering the moment that Brad Cathcart had earlier on, I think that will probably do it for him in this race. Unless he wants to stay around, repair the damage, and probably rejoin the race in a hoopty-rod of a Formula Ford about 17 laps down. Obviously not that. I'm just fooling around. But still, that's going to be just about a game ender for Brad Cathcart. An easy mistake to make, to be sure, in the Formula V draft party that the drivers of the Formula V Weekend Warrior Series always have on Friday nights here on the East Coast. I was part of it, and on lap 1 of that race, I looped it coming out of turn number 7, that quick chicane downhill off into turn 8, a rather unique section of racetrack. That I think is probably the best way we could describe this track. It's unique. You could pick any corner around this track and really find no equal to it anywhere else in the world. Turn 8 definitely being one of the biggest cases of that, with that downhill shoot into the corner, trying to go through the gears in these Formula Fords. And the section right before then to the 6 and 7 chicane section that we just saw Cathcart have that moment through. Another case of that.
Yeah, absolutely. As we just got a shot there of Sean Doyle, who was in the pits. I think was running in P6 when he pitted, so he's going to opt to go ahead and take his service, drop down the order a bit. And hey, look at that, Josh Wilkie running P11, having a great run today for signing up and joining at the last minute. Oh, spin for the 5 car. That's Buchanan.
Oh, that's more than a spin. That's a little bit of wheel damage on that race car. You can see that front right tire is all sorts of broken off. That's going to take your front row sitter and your pole sitter in the Spec 1 category out of this race. May need to figure out exactly what went wrong for the driver of the 5. It was side-by-side racing between himself and Daniel Tufts, heading off through turn number 5 right now, and contact being made, and that's going to send him around. And still good. Man, that was a rather light whack to break that wheel off. It
really was. It was side-to-side, tire-to-tire contact with Tufts. And that we've seen worse that people can drive away from. But, that was kind of odd. It's just, obviously, I think Tufts kind of pushed a little bit wide, maybe not expecting the other car to be there. As we're on board here with Trenton Kramer, as he's trying to work his way up into a position here. I think this is he battling with there. It's going to take me a minute to figure all these car designs out.
Whoa! Contact being made. That's going to send Kramer off the track. That alligator car again slapped around. That I believe was coming at turn number 3, if I'm very much mistaken. That's one thing with this racetrack. You can tell what part of the track it is vaguely. If you see a whole bunch of grass runoff area, it's probably between turns 1 up until turn 8. Outside of that, though, it's probably going to be the back half of the circuit, and you can't really tell some of the corners otherwise. It's a tale of two halves, this racetrack. That is for certain, as Antonio Reese has actually made the call to come into the pits. He now finds himself back in P2 in the Masters class, albeit down in P17 overall. And a reminder to anyone who hasn't tuned into a Weekend Warriors broadcast before, these drivers are scored based off their overall finishing position. So despite it being P1 and P2 in the Masters category, quite a significant difference points-wise between Jorg Mani running as second and Antonio Reese running down in P17. So it may be a good result in class for him, but I'm sure Antonio is probably happy that he made it up back to second in Spec 2, but outside of that, maybe a little bit upset with that mistake heading through one at the very start of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that battle we saw with Kramer was with Dustin Meaden in the 789 car. Just once again, it's going to take me now that I'm back, it's going to take me a week or two to get used to the new paint schemes, but we'll get it all figured out as we're on board here with the class leader, Zippy Salmon, running in the Iron Brew livery. If you've never had an Iron Brew, I would highly recommend trying it once. It tastes like no other soft drink in America. It's very much an outlier as far as soft drinks are concerned.
I'm gonna have to look this up now because I'm curious. I mean, if anyone tuned into the Racing Line podcast on Tuesday, you will know that I'm a fan of soda. I've actually done broadcasts while not having a glass of water, instead having a glass of Pepsi, which I do not recommend. If I'm being completely honest, that's usually not a good way to go about things, even with the caffeine. But may have to look into Iron Brew. I think my only I think I'm going to hold off on the soda discussions. We nearly just saw collision coming out of turn number 7. That's involving Sammy Hendricks and Soren Garrett's right behind. Sammy Hendricks, one of the hard chargers thus far in this race, up 18 spots. He's not the hard charger, though. That going to Josh Wilkie, and currently running in 9th, up 21 spots. Well done, Josh. We're definitely not just saying that because he's our boss here at Slow Motion Broadcasting. He's put together a very good race. Lots of these drivers still yet to pit, though, so it is a bit non-representative of how their positions actually are out on the racetrack. We'll note that Felix Samoas has extended that lead between himself and Jorg Mani now to a tick over 3 seconds. Those drivers have yet to come into the pits. The top 9 yet to pit. Dan Witzek, the highest running of the cars to come down pit lane at the moment. You can see him at the front of this train in that 413 car with the Shell logo right on the tip of the nose cone. Finds himself P3 of the Spec 2 racers, probably going to re-inherit the lead in class once we have this cycle of pit stops completed here. But Sammy Hendricks still finding himself leading this train.
Yeah, still leading this train, and you see the battles is on between these 3 or 4 cars. They're just ducking and diving and trying to find a clean line to keep their speed going in the proper direction there, as we see on board there with Hendricks, and he's got the 21 car of Garrett's behind him, whose Garrett's has already pitted, so he's up. He's going to make some more positions up as Verone back on board with him, and we'll see what we're got going on here as we're coming down. Obviously, we were talking about the first half of the track. We're still there as just loops and just carries too much speed, loops the car around, and it's going to back up into and it's good. So okay on the rejoin as well, and very patient there to wait for a clear spot to get back on the track.
As we take a look at a moment involving Josh Wilkie heading down into turn number 8. Don't tell me I jinxed him. Don't tell me I jinxed him. Hits the current. Yeah,
you jinxed him.
God damn it. It was bound to happen at some point. I apologize, Josh. And again, anyone who'd like to take my job here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, why not write to us at, this one be, don't jinx your boss like I did at slowmotionbroadcasting.com.
Yep, that's the proper one. Yeah, luckily Josh, no contact with anything. Was able to get back out there. Lost some time, dropped down to P12. So still having a really good run, though. Obviously, still pit stop to go. We still got 8 of our top 9 yet to pit. Witzak being the only car that's running in P8 that has already made a pit stop. So he's in a good position for a strong finish. with Andrew Love just in front of him by 6 seconds or so, but Love still has to pit as we're on board here with McConnell, our sponsor for today, having a great run running in P4. Obviously, pit stop still to go, but having himself a nice run. He's got a little bit of a gap he's going to have to make up, and he's got Jason Green right behind him running in 5th. So they'll do some battling until it's time for somebody to call it off and come into the pits.
As we see a moment for Dustin Meaden in the 789 car. This is in the small low flat out blast between turns number 8 into this 11 and 12 section, and he loops it heading through, and who was that? That right there, rapidly approaching at the scene of that near accident, was a number 42 car of Andrew Hurds. There we go. It took me a little bit to try and figure out who that was. We'll note Dustin Meaden as decides to call it quits for today after that moment, hanging through 11 and 12. A really tricky section for these drivers, as running mega wide coming out of that section right there was that was a lap down car of Daniel Verone. Still a massive moment coming out of turn 7.
Yeah, Daniel's struggling a little bit, but you could say he's working hard, trying to keep that car going in the right direction, and that was just 4-wheel slide out of the corner. Let's see if there's any. Yeah, just I think a little bit of curb maybe unsettled the car, but managed just to hang on to it, keeping it pointed the right way, back on the track, lost him a second or two, but still continuing forward, hasn't made any contact with anybody, and still out there running, and that's part of it, is you got to keep the car going. As we get a replay here from Andrew Hurds. You just trying to carry the speed through that really, really open right-hander. And it's too much there as he tried to get on the brakes there to slow down for that sharp left-hand corner. And I think maybe locked the brakes up or at least broke the rear end loose.
And I gotta say, despite the fact that some people have been praising the newfound grippiness of these Formula Fords, lots of these drivers having sideways snaps. I mean, granted, even if you got the amount of grip that they had last season and upped it up by 12, it would still be a little bit skittish. These cars, not the grippiest in the world, considering they have all-weather tires and it's super tough running around here. Soren Garrett is coming to the pits yet again. That's going to take him out of contention in this race. He's now in P11. Actually exits out just fine. May have potentially been a drive-through penalty, potentially,
I think so.
For incident points.
Yep, I think you're absolutely right. As I'm looking at the timing and scoring, definitely looks that was a drive-through, and it's a 10-second drive-through, so you probably lose about 7 or 8 seconds on track just from having to slow down a bit as to work your way through pit lane. I did see it was a little bit of kink in the pit entry there, so that's probably makes things a little bit tougher. As we're on here with Verone again.
Ooh, this is into 11 and 12, and still good through there, Exit, hits that bump in the road, hits that hump in the road, I should say, and loops it around. I think there was another moment, though, involving Jason Green. This was shortly after that. There you can see heading his way through the section, and that will be Verone stopped on the side of the road. Crest the hill out of 12 through 13 into 14 now. Some pretty big curb wax, and then bang into the tire barrier.
Yeah, I see those little, it's got the normal serrated curbs, I should say, but it looks like they've got those little, what I call landmines, those little dots on the inside of that corner there, and looks like he caught that and just unsettled the car and just lost control, and that's part of it is, you've got to be at the level of precision, as I said earlier. You have to be pretty precise on this track. It's, there's not a lot of room for error. Luckily, there's some places that you can avoid taking it straight to the barrier, but you're going to end up spinning and losing quite a bit of time, as we see Josh Wilkie is now in the pits. McConnell has inherited the race lead, as Samoas, Tufts, and Monty all pitted, I think, the lap previous.
And trying to figure out where Felix Samoas is at the moment. He's been hiding in plain sight in second all this time. Oh, boy. That could have ended in tears between Jason Green and Sean Doyle. You can tell that because I briefly became an opera singer as they were heading through turn number 5. That was so close to absolute catastrophe. Credit where credit's due to the both of those drivers. The fact they were able to get away with that with clean race cars, probably not with clean pants, as Michael McConnell is coming to the pits from the race lead.
Yep, McConnell's in the pits, and that should give the lead back to Samoas. Let's see how long McConnell's in and where he's going to actually come out as we see Samoas come through. and McConnell comes out of the pits now. See Tufts on the track. Monty has gotten by. McConnell comes out in P3. And Tufts is actually back in the pit lane again.
So that's not going to be ideal for Daniel Tufts at all. And looking through to try and see if there's any other outliers of drivers yet to come into the pits. I think just about everyone has gone through the pits now, as Daniel Tufts in the number 34 car had this moment. Hang through 11 and 12. You got Jim Brewster right in front of him. Don't tell me he went for a move into the slalom section. Oh, that was contact being made. That was a messy incident.
Yeah, it really was. That was, just a little bump on the brakes a little later than the car in front gives Jim a little bump. Jim loses the car after that because he's off in the grass and he can't get the car turned around properly, and comes right back onto the track into Tufts. Oh yeah, just hit him in the right rear tire, and just broke the car loose, and that was all that needed to be done for both those cars to get involved in that collision.
Yeah, that was just an ugly incident. Hang down into 13 and 14. That slalom section, as I like to call, towards the back end of this racetrack, it is super tough in these race cars, because in the Formula Ford, you basically have to drift it around pretty much every single corner, regardless of whether it's high speed, medium speed, low speed. Doesn't matter. The speed of the corner, the angle of the corner, the elevation change through it, you're going to be drifting heading through there. The back end is going to be slightly loose, and off through that section, it's dancing with the devil is probably the best way that I can describe it in these cars. Super fun if you get it right, but also super irritating if you get it wrong.
Yeah, as we see Garrett's go a little wide there coming out of the corner, trying to carry his speed. Gets back onto the racing line as we cross the start-finish line. And I'm going to say this, as rough as this race has been, as far as cars spinning and having collisions and stuff like that, I can't imagine this track when it's wet. So hats off to these drivers from running this in the wet last season. This is absolutely nuts in the dry. In the wet, I was got to say it's virtually impossible to keep the cars on the track.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I remember when this Formula Ford Weekend Warrior Series rocked up to Cadwell Park in the rain. I think we ended up having about 9 drivers finish the race at the end of the day. It was maybe the most attrition-packed Weekend Warriors race I have ever seen, but now in the dry, it's been a little bit better. Last season, rather dominated by rain, had a whole lot of rain races, which it should be expected. We are running it through the winter. Probably going to see a rather big change throughout the season. May see some wet weather races a little bit early on in the season, which I have a feeling that we may end up seeing at Magny Court in 1 week's time. I don't know why. That's just a hunch that I have. But when these drivers hit the track with dry conditions, they can put on some absolutely fabulous racing. And also briefly go through the classes as it stands currently. Samoa's in the race lead. York Monty running second overall. Your current leader in the Masters category, Kevin Adrian, running in the number 10 car, is currently in 8th. We're following him right now. And this pack that you see on screen at the moment rounds out your top 10. And in the midst of that, Dan Witzak, the Spec 2 leader, back in the Spec 2 lead after that cycle through the pits. I was going to say that he was in 5th. He's now in 6th after Sean Doyle got a move done on him a couple of moments ago. But credit where credit's due to Witzak, putting together a very solid drive in the 413 car.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a nice, 15-second or so gap to the second car in class, which is Andrew Love, as we're on board here with Doyle as he's making this move around. Witzak. It's a replay here of a well done and very easy pass made. So great job by both those cars as we get that done. And we're back on board here with Sean Doyle running in P5, obviously P4 in class, but having himself quite a good day today in a very tough track. This is crazy.
Oh, side-by-side racing coming out of turn number 11 and 12. They briefly were side-by-side. They rapidly single-filed out, understandably so. That 11 and 12 section and the crest of the hill coming out of it. We saw same track be used for the Formula V Weekend Warriors yesterday here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Hopefully all of you tuned into that good race with that fantastic series. Those cars, though, They don't have a lot of power. These FFs, while they don't have a stupid amount of power either, they have enough to spin up the tires and create a very sketchy experience coming out of 11 and 12 as side-by-side through 1 and 2 for the drivers, right, just barely inside the top 10. Soren Garrett and Kevin Adrian battled hard, and Kevin Adrian was the driver losing at the most in that situation, finds himself in P10 in the number 10 car as Garrett's got the move done into 1, and Kramer got done through 2.
Yeah, and I think I may have given the commentator curse to Doyle as he was running up in P5. We're going to get a replay here and maybe make some mistake as we're coming out of. Yeah, it's that, that corner is just so tricky. Yeah, just loops the car coming through that left-hander there and drops down. He's still running in P7, so he's still having himself quite a good run. But did lose a couple positions there, specifically to Jason Green, who's also in the Spec 1 class. Yeah, you get this, and you get this sharp left, sharp right, and then you get the crest of the hill where the car gets light, and these cars were, absolutely, as we'll get another replay here, Andrew Hurds. There might have been already contact made or an incident up there. We're going to have another spin here.
And let's see, heading off to the final series of corners. Yep, another spin through turn 17. That hairpin, one of the tightest on iRacing. And incidentally, if anyone's ever run around the Woodlands layout of this track, turn 1 is potentially the tightest hairpin in the entirety of iRacing. There are certain cars where you have to pull off a 3-point turn to get through there. Turn 17 ain't much better either. That's a super tough section to try and get right as we take a look at the side-by-side racing that was going on a few moments ago involving Soren Garrett and Trent Kramer. That's all through turn number 1. Kramer open it. Oh boy, yet again going side-by-side with a car through turn number 1 and going off the track. This time it wasn't as a result of contact with the car on the inside, but still a moment for Kramer that he probably did not have in mind. The Gator green car ending up in the green grass.
Yeah, that's, he tried to make that run to the outside and just could not carry enough speed and keep it on the track. So wisely kind of drops out. And what happened to Soren Garrett? He is showing him as out. Is this is it wrong white flag lap, Ron? Oh, no.
Oh, boy, yeah. He got hit with a DQ hammer. That's what happened to Soren Garrett. Hit that incident point limit. A reminder, folks, 13x is a penalty, 18x is a disqualification. I think Soren Garrett may have slightly overdone the mark a bit. Let's see. Oh, it was a moment coming out of turn number 6 and 7. We got a little bit squirrely behind Trent Kramer. And then Kevin Adrian nowhere to go, hit the back of him, and that decided that it was enough for Soren Garrett in this race, and he got sent straight into the shadow realm. I'm saying that 5 times fast, but a moment for Garrett that he probably will not want to have repeat all throughout this season. A rather high attrition rate here at Cadwell Park, it must be said, as it stands currently, going to have 22 drivers cross that start-finish line at the end of this race, which is coming up in a few moments' time. Felix Samoas has driven an expertly crafted race, started this race up towards the front, didn't even start on the front row, but he certainly was close in terms of his qualifying time. Samoas, the reigning Spec Racer Ford champion, hitting the ground running this season here for the Formula Fords. He'll look to try and do the same in the SRF race later on this afternoon at Lebanon. More about that a little bit later on in this broadcast, but Samoas coming around turn 18 for the last time in this race, and for Felix Samoas in the number 31 car, gonna get the season kicked off in the best way imaginable. Felix Samoas wins it here at Cadwell Park. You have to wait a little while to find Jörg Mani, who's going to finish P2, winning it in the Masters category, continuing on that same form that we saw from him in Season 1 of 2025. Keeps it going for Season 2. Michael McConnell, the sponsor of today's broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, is going to round out your overall podium in 3rd. Daniel Tufts crosses the line in 4th, waiting a little bit to find Dan Witzak, your winner in the Spec 2 category at the end of this race, going to round at your top 5. But Samoas, an expertly crafted drive for him. As much as he may be the reigning Spec Racer Ford champion, I think he's going to be a real strong competitor here in these Formula Fords.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, he drove a perfect race, right? Didn't put a foot wrong, and just got to the lead and just checked out on the rest of the field. Jörg tried to hang in there as best he could, but I think he got into some battles with Tufts, and one of the other cars that were up there at one point in time, and I think that was just enough that gave Felix the separation he needed to go out and make the race and make the race victory. So congrats to Felix, congrats to Jorg, Michael, great race, P2 in class, P3 overall, and maybe that's the reason he sponsored this. He knew he was going to do well.
Hey, potentially, I certainly wouldn't rule that out at all. I mean, hey, if I was putting the money on the line, I would want to be very quick in that race that I was sponsoring. Otherwise, I'd feel a little bit bad for for sponsoring at the end of it all. That's obviously we're just fooling around, and we want to thank Michael for being very generous to sponsor this broadcast. And here we go, time for the jump. Oh, he didn't make it. Jason Green lawn darting it into the Armco barrier and twirling around that. I think he flipped it about 5 or 6 times. Wow, God, I'm not sure who that was, but they came in like a missile. Someone's turtled a little bit farther in the grass. Usually the toughest part commentary-wise for these Weekend Warriors races is commentating the Crash 'em Up Wreckfest at the end. Dan Witzak, he's rolling as a Spec 2 leader. Josh Wilkie, he's still about to roll down the hill into turn number 8. Let's ride on board. Oh boy, he nearly just got taken out there, and he leaps it. Oh, God. Oh, Jesus.
No. We
just saw an on-screen death.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, this is the fun part of this league is, they say, you know what? It doesn't cost us anything to just wreck these cars in the race. So the cars that were still out there said, you know what? We're going to do this too, as we see a car skateboarding on another one upside down as it should be. Get another run here from the 34 car. He's going to try and he's going to just drive through. Oh, he could take the,
oh, Christ.
Splits himself in half on the guardrail. And he's stuck. You're not getting that out, Daniel. I'm sorry. That's not how that's going to work.
God, there's 2 of them. Okay, I see. Okay, so we've got Formula Ford shish kebab going on at the moment. And as we were riding on board with Daniel Tufts, you could tell iRacing was clearly crapped out because it had it loaded as if he was in a studio. You could still see that front left tire, despite the fact it was on the other side of the barrier. I'm not even sure what to say. I think we're going to just swiftly and abruptly move on before we see a Formula Ford car strike the moon.
Yeah.
Because, oh boy, that's I'm not even sure what should be said at the end of all that. And at the end of a brilliant race to get this season underway here for the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors, we're going to do things the way we did in the Formula V race yesterday. I think we're going to hold off on the results until the end of the interviews, and we'll drag some drivers in to have a quick little chat with them. I can see that Felix Samoas is up in the interview waiting area, so I think I'm going to drag him in by the collar to have a quick little chat with our Spec 1 winner at the end of this opening race of the season. Felix, welcome into the booth, and congratulations on the win here in the FFs at Cadwell Park. Talk us through it.
Thank you. Yeah, it was highly unexpected. My first race with the Formula 4s at the Weekend Warriors, and I don't normally race this car, so... the thing is, I really liked the track and I had good pace, but it was hard work because I was 100% focused the whole time. Only after the pit stop I could relax a bit more, because until the pit stop they were always just a few seconds behind me. So any mistake, it would be enough for them to be in draft again. So I had to be focused the whole race, and in the end it turned out okay, and I win.
And around a racetrack like this, which is super demanding, both of the car and the driver, I want to ask you about remaining in that good frame of mind and staying focused on a race like this, because with the runoff area and lack thereof in certain points of this racetrack, it's super important to try and just be in the right frame of mind to do well in a race like this.
Yeah. As I said, I had to be 100% focused the whole time. I couldn't relax. There was one lap where I was checking if I had everything set for the pit stop. It was enough for me to lose like half a second or more. So I had to be 100% focused the whole race, 40 minutes. It's quite tiresome.
And now this is a question that I think myself, Charles, Guido in the production booth, and really everyone tuning into this broadcast wants to know. Are you going to be trying to gun for the Spec 1 championship here for the Formula Fords this season?
I'm not sure. I will do as many races as I can, but in terms of scheduling, the time of the day on Sundays, I want to do the spec racer. So I don't know if I can do all the Formula Ford one. I will try to take part in as many as possible. But yeah, that's as far as I can go in as promising.
Well, of course, trying to go back to back with the Spec 1 championships over there in the SRFs is going to be super important. That race is coming up later on this afternoon at Lebanon. Are you going to be on track for that one? And if so, what are your thoughts heading into that opening race of the season?
Yes, I will be, and it's a very technical and demanding track, my opinion. And then with the elevations and the blind corners, it's not an easy track. And you could see that in terms of the participation in the regular series. It was not a very popular track, although it was free. Yeah, let's see. I hope I can do well. I think I have good pace, but also Soul has amazing pace this week. I raced with him already, so yeah, let's see. Man, if I can get a podium, I'm happy on the next race.
Well, it's certainly going to be a good one for the Spec Racer Fords later on this afternoon, gunning for back-to-back championships in that series. And I think you can stay consistent. You may be one of the drivers that we have to talk about in terms of that championship. But Felix Samoas, thank you so much for joining us here in the commentary booth. And before we let you go and not only celebrate this win in the Formula Fords, but also get some seat time for the Spec Racer Fords, is there anybody you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
As usual, everybody taking part in the races, and the guys that I raced with the SRF Discord, they try to help me because this was my first race. So big shout out to all of them, Jason especially. Yeah, that's it. And you guys in the commentary. It's always fun to go back and rewatch the races and talk with you guys. So that's it.
We'll let you get the seat time before that Spec Racer Ford race, but always good to have a chat with you here, Felix. And congratulations on the win in the Formula Fords. Excited to see you back out on the track for the SRFs later on.
Thank you. Ciao. See you later.
And that right there was Felix Samoas, your winner at the end of the season opening race for the Formula Fords. And Charles, I'll let you take dibs on who you want to have a chat with.
Well, let's talk to our Masters class winner, finished P2 in the race today. We'll bring Jorg in here. Jorg, congratulations on the class win. P2, obviously starting on pole. So probably not where you wanted to finish. You thought you might have a chance to win this race. This track is my first experience. This track is extremely difficult. Talk about how much focus you have to put into this just to keep the car going the right direction.
So actually, I'm even glad that I finished the race, first of all. Because I was all day out with because my brother had his 65th birthday. Happy birthday to my brother again. And I just got home recently, so I just joined a little bit of practice session. I have not done one single lap on this track this week. I didn't do any laps actually this week because I was almost every day out with my convertible. And I had more fun to drive the convertible instead of sitting in a sim and sweating all the time. But otherwise, Cadwell, it's kind of mixed feeling, I think. It's a great track, actually, to drive. You don't have much room. And as Daniel and Edward in the race had, if you get too close, then you're going to spin each other out. And that's what happens to Edward. I saw that in the mirror. But for me, it gave me a lot more bigger room for me to breathe. And that was actually quite good. But I'm really happy with P2. I'm totally happy with it.
Well, there you go, Jorg. It's good to be back here, and it's good to talk with you again. And we'll let you go get ready for that Spec Racer race. So we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs that you wanna give before we let you go.
Yeah, to Ron. At least I saw him once on the podcast now.
Yeah.
With his long hair.
Yeah, I'm a bit jealous. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm not. My brother used to have long hair. He used to be an old hippie. I always call him old hippie. And now he is bald-headed. So, yeah, just the opposite side. But, of course, I want to shout out to you guys and to all the drivers. They're just simply great. And it's a lot of fun to drive with them. But I will not do the Spec Racer Ford this time. And, because I'm too tired. because I was, like I mentioned, I was all the whole day, and I'm a bit tired now, and I'm not going to race that one.
Understand. All right. Well, it's good to talk to you, and we'll see you next week then.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And that right there was Jörg Monty, your winner in the Masters category. Let's see if he can go for 11 out of 12 Masters wins this season like he did in Season 1. Knowing my luck, though, I probably just jinxed him, and the Falling Anvil Committee is going to be chasing after him all throughout this season. But he's a very nice guy. And actually, fun fact, a couple of days ago, this past week, marked 2 years since my first Weekend Warriors broadcast, and he was the first driver I ever got a chance to interview with this series. I had no idea what the hell I was doing, and frankly, I still kind of don't. We're going to have a chat with a driver who certainly knew what they were doing in this race, not only sponsoring today's broadcast here on SMB, but putting together a very good drive. Michael, welcome into the booth. First off, thank you for making this broadcast here on SMB possible today, and well done on the podium. Talk us through that race.
Yeah, thank you. That race almost didn't go the way that it went. Yeah, that race was fantastic. I can't say I'm disappointed with that at all. I did get distracted once I saw Jason Green disappear from behind me, which caused me to miss the lap that was supposed to pit. So I was like, I guess I'm going again. And then I started having to fuel save, and then my fuel calculations were weird, so I just had to keep fuel saving, and I managed to maintain a podium position, so that was being fantastic.
Yeah, again, this season kicked off with a podium is certainly not a result that I think you will mind at all. This track is super tough, and despite the fact we've seen it a lot as of late for the Weekend Warriors, it still feels like a learning curve every single time we race around here.
Yeah, it is definitely one of my favorite tracks. Potentially, actually, my favorite of all the tracks. I love hot lapping it. I love racing it. It's been thoroughly fun every time I did it. Although the first time we raced it in the Weekend Warriors in Formula Ford, it was pouring rain. And as much as that really sucked, I finished P2 in that one, so I can't complain with that either.
I remember doing that broadcast when it was completely soaking wet out there, and I did not envy the position of the drivers that day, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, this track is definitely one of the hardest that I've seen in the wet, and that was definitely wet. Definitely wet. It's very tricky. So I'm glad that it's been dry the past 2 times, because it's a lot more fun that way. It's very tedious in the rain.
And Charles and I were kind of joking about that during the broadcast as well. Knowing our luck, though, we probably just jinxed in. The track is going to more resemble a lake come time for Season 3 of 2025. But, Michael, I want to ask you about Magny Core in 1 week's time, the next race of this championship. First time the Weekend Warriors have run there in quite some time. At least I can't really remember the last time this series really ran at that circuit. So, going to be a tough one in 1 week's time. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've not raced that track in the Weekend Warriors, and I haven't raced it at all in an extremely long time. Like last time I did it was in a Formula 3, the old Formula 3, which has been years ago. So it's going to be interesting. It's a track that has like 3 or 4 straights essentially, so I predict it will be very drafty.
I'm mildly terrified for the Formula V race there in the same weekend. That'll be coming up in 6 days here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. I am fully bracing my vocal cords for what is going to be the test of a lifetime there. But Michael, thank you for joining us. Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun. I'll be part of the FV draft party the night before then as well, so I'll get a good view of the other draft. That is going to be super fun. But Michael, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary booth. Thank you again for sponsoring this broadcast. And before we let you go and celebrate this overall podium and P2 in Spec 2 in the process, is there anybody you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
Yeah, it's my shout out Steve Ray as always. I'm not sure what this would be without him. And yeah, decided to donate this year, so yeah, just shout out.
I always got to shout out Stevie in the interviews.
Yeah.
That's basically prerequisite. I'm pretty sure if you don't do that, you end up getting a penalty whereby you have to start the next race at the back. So, but before I say anything, that may get me canned as well. Michael, thank you for joining us in the commentary booth. Thank you again for sponsoring this broadcast, and excited to see you back out on the track for the rest of the season, man.
Yeah, and thank you all for doing the broadcast. I love watching them, so looking forward to the season.
Thank you as well for the kind words as well, man. Nice to see you. Nice to see you in the booth.
All right, thank you.
And that right there was Michael McConnell, your P3 finisher at the end of this race here at Cadwell Park. And with all that being said, we'll load up the final results for this opening race of the season, a race that had nice strategy, some good racing, and a couple incidents here and there, but overall very, very smooth. Felix Samoas is going to grab the first overall checkered flag of this season. Jurg Mani will find himself finishing this race top of the Masters, and P2 overall Michael McConnell will end up finishing in third, rounding out your overall podium. Daniel Tuss finishes right behind in fourth. Dan Witzak grabs the win in the Spec 2 category, finishing in P5. We have Jason Green right behind in sixth. Sean Doyle in P7. Trent Kramer in eighth. Kevin Adrian will finish in ninth. Daniel Salmon rounding out your top 10. Sammy Hendricks, Ethan Orr, Antonio Reese, Fernando Alfonso, Paul Jackson, and Joshua Wilkie going to round out the first half of the results page.
Yep, Jeff Woodker in 17th. And we've got Andrew Love in 18th, Russ Telker 19th, Daniel Verone in 20th, Jim Brewster 21st, Soren Garrett's 22nd, Andrew Hurds 23rd, Dustin Meaden 24th, Edward Buchanan 25th, Steve Ray in 26th, Brad Cathcart 27th. We roll on up. We've got Juan Garcia in 28th, Glenn Wolowski in 29th, Adam Thompson 30th, Boris Essman and Nick Tolo did not take the start of the field. They'll be classified 31st and 32nd.
So those are your results for the first round of this season. First of 12 and first of 12 absolutely fantastic racetracks that we will be visiting. Next time out for the Weekend Warriors, we're going to be running at Magny Core for all three of the series. Still got the Let It On race for the Spec Racer Fords coming up later on this afternoon, mind you. But Magny Core, Charles, that's an oddball of a racetrack. There's really nothing like it in the world, and whether that can be taken as an insult or a compliment remains to be determined. But Magny Core, that's going to be an odd ride for these drivers in the FFs.
Yeah, I think it will be. It's not the most difficult track. There's a couple of tricky corners, but I think it's going to be much more of a draft track. I think there'll be a little bit more racing room for these cars, obviously, with Magny Core compared to here. So yeah, looking forward to a good race and having most everybody being able to finish the race. I think that's going to be the most important thing.
And even with this broadcast coming to a close, that doesn't stop it with all of the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. In fact, we got the action from the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors season opening race a little bit later on this afternoon. Hope all of you can tune into that broadcast a little bit later on today and tune into all the stuff here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Gives you a very good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. We got about 45 minutes between this broadcast and the Spec Racer Ford. So how about in that time, you take a look at the driver's eye following Matt Malone's perspective in the American Muscle Series race at Road America this past week. That was a pretty exciting race from his perspective, and you'll be able to see that singing in the rain action between now and the Spec Racer Fords later on this afternoon. But as for this broadcast, for the Formula Fords, the opening race of this season, I think that will just about do it. And so for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi working all the cameras in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for watching this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, and we hope to see you all for the Spec Racer Fords later on this afternoon.